I met an old woman talking by herself down a lonely road, talking to herself, laughing all the time, talking to herself down a country road. Child, you cannot know why folks talk alone. If the road be long and travelers none, a man talks to himself. If showers of sorrows fall down like arrows, the lone wayfarer may talk by himself. So, an old woman on lone country roads, laughing all the time, may babble to herself to keep the tears away. Woman, you are sad. 'Tis the same with me. Where the rivers of time are fouled by native stress and strife, and man becomes his own enemy, life is distraught, and its colorful scenes are marred and stained by dark brown blots of violent blood. Let's live in peace. For here, like tenants in thatched huts we dwell. Soon, too soon, the tropic storm will outblow the flickering lights of human life. Our huts we fall, in frailty upon the earth, whereon they rot. And we, in foul disintegration, will be identified with dust. When at break of day at a riverside, I hear jungle drums telegraphing the mystic rhythm, urgent, raw, like bleeding flesh, speaking of primal youth and the beginning. I see the panther ready to pounce, the leopard snarling about to leap, and the hunters crouch with spears poised. And my blood ripples, turns torrent, topples the years, and at once I'm in my mother's laps a suckling. At once I'm walking simple paths with no innovations, rugged, fashioned with the naked warmth of hurrying feet and groping hearts, in green leaves and wild flowers, pulsing. Then I hear a wailing piano solo, speaking of complex ways in tear-furrowed concerto, of faraway lands and new horizons, with coaxing diminuendo, counterpoint, crescendo, but lost in the labyrinth of its complexities, it ends in the middle of a phrase at a dagger point. And I, lost in the morning mist of an age at a riverside, keep wandering in the mystic rhythm of jungle drums and the concerto. The wind comes rushing from the sea. The waves, curling like mambas, strike the sands, and recoiling hiss in rage, washing the Aladura's feet, pressing hard on the sand. And with eyes fixed hard on what only hearts can see, they, shouting, pray. The Aladuras pray. And coming from booths behind, compelling high life forces ears, and car lights startle pairs, arm in arm, passing washer words back and forth like haggling sellers and buyers. Still, they pray. The Aladuras pray, with hands pressed against their hearts and their white robes pressed against their bodies by the wind. And drinking palm wine and beer, the people boast at bars at the beach. Still, they pray. They pray. The Aladuras pray to what only hearts can see, while dead fishermen, long dead, with bones rolling nibbled clean by nibbling fishes, following 4 dead cowries shining like stars into deep sea, where fishes sit in judgment. And living fishermen in dark huts sit round dim lights with Babalawo throwing their souls in 4 cowries on sand, trying to see tomorrow. Still, they pray. The Aladuras pray to what only hearts can see, Behind the curling waves and the sea, the stars and the subduing unanimity of the sky, and their white bones beneath the sand. And standing dead on dead sands, I felt my knees touch living sand. But the rushing wind killed the budding words. The celebration is now ended, but the echoes are all around, whirling like a Harmattan whirlwind, throwing dust around. And hands cover faces and feet grope. The celebration is now ended. The drums lay quiet, silent, waiting, and the dancers disperse, walking with feet that have known many dances, waiting for the next, walking with their hearts climbing up their feet to their places, and the palm wine descending from their heads to settle in their bellies, and their bodies turned cold. For the spirit of the dance has left, and their faces become naked. But the child front is now lying on laps, feeding from measureless breasts of the back, singing green lullabies which tingle our heads. And we learn to sing half familiar, half strange songs. We learn to dance to half familiar, half strange rhythms fashioned in dreams, as the child front lies sleeping with breasts in his mouth. We have come to your shrine to worship, we the sons of the land. The naked cowherd has brought the cows safely home and stands silent with his bamboo flute, wiping the rain from his brow. As the birds brood in their nests, awaiting the dawn with unsung melodies, the shadows crowd on the shores, pressing their lips against the bosom of the sea. The peasants, home from their labors, sit by their log fires, telling tales of long ago. Why should we, the sons of the land, bleed unheeded before your shrine, when our hearts are full of song and our lips tremble with sadness? The little firefly vies with the star, the log fire with the sun, the water in the calabash with the mighty Vulture. But we have come in tattered penury, begging at the door of the master. Before you, Mother Idoto, naked I stand. Before your watery presence, a prodigal, leaning on an oil beam, lost in your legend. Under your power wait I on barefoot, watchman for the watchword at heaven's gate. Out of the depths my cry, give ear and hearken. Ibadan, running splash of rust and gold, flung and scattered among 7 hills like broken china in the sun. In vain, your bangles cast charmed circles at my feet. I am Abiku, calling for the first and the repeated time. Must I weep for goats and cowries, for palm oil and the sprinkled ash? Yams do not sprout in amulets to earth Abiku's limbs. So, when the snail is burnt in his shell, wet the heated fragment. Brand me deeply on the breast. You must know him when Abiku calls again. I am the squirrel teeth, cracked the riddle of the palm. Remember this, and dig me deeper still into the god's swollen foot. Once on the repeated time, ageless though I puke, and when you pour libations, each finger points me near the way I came, where the ground is wet with morning. White dew suckles flesh birds, evening befriends the spider, trapping flies in wind froth. Night, and Abiku sucks the oil from lamps. Mothers, I'll be the suppliant snake coiled on the doorstep, yours the killing cry. The ripest fruit was saddest. Where I crept, the warmth was clawing. In the silence of webs, Abiku moans, shaping mounds from the yoke. Traveler, you must set out at dawn and wipe your feet upon the dog-nosed wetness of the earth. Let sunrise quench your lamps and watch faint brush pricklings in the skylight. Cottoned feet to break the early earthworm on the hoe, and shadows stretch with sap, not twilight's death and sad prostration. This soft kindling, soft receding, breathes racing joys and apprehensions for a naked day. Burdened hawks retract, stoop to the mist in faceless throng to wake the silent markets, swift, mute processions on grey byways. On this counterpane it was, sudden winter at the death of dawn's lone trumpeter, cascades of white feather flakes, but it proved a futile rite. Propitiation sped grimly on, before the right foot for joy, the left dread, and the mother prayed, "Child, may you never walk when the road waits." Famished traveler, you must set forth at dawn. I promise marvels of the holy hour, presages as the white cocks flapped perverse impalement, as who would dare the wrathful wings of man's progression, but such another wraith. Brother, silenced in the startled hug of your invention, is this mocked grimace, this closed contortion I? Rust is ripeness, rust and the wilted corn plume. Pollen is mating time when swallows weave a dance of feathered arrows, thread corn stalks in winged streaks of light. And we love to hear spliced phrases of the wind, to hear rasps in the field where corn leaves pierce like bamboo slivers. Now, gatherers we, awaiting rust on tassels, draw long shadows from the dusk, wreath the thatch in wood smoke, laden stalks ride the germ's decay. We await the promise of the rust. I shall sit often on the knoll and watch the grafting. This dismembered limb must come some day to sad fruition. I shall weep dryly on the stone that marks the grave-head silence of a tamed resolve. I shall sit often on the knoll, till longings crumble too. Oh, I have felt the termite nuzzle white entrail, and fine ants wither in the mind's unthreaded maze. Then may you frolic where the head lies shaven, inherit all, death watches, cut your bittle capers on low matted hairs. I know this weed you sopped know. The graveyard now was nursery to her fears. She did not call me by name, not by the name my mother gave me. She called me by another name, a word I have not heard it before. Yet I knew it was me. Will you come under the cashew tree beside the cemetery? I know no cashew tree beside the cemetery. No, I don't. Yet I will go. Perhaps a revelation awaits me. Have they discovered the colored cowrie or the specific herbs that will conjure? They perhaps have found the lost wanderer. I went after her. She stood still beneath the cashew and spoke not a word. The weaver bird built in our house and laid its eggs on our only tree. We did not want to send it away. We watched the building of the nest and supervised the egg laying. And the weaver returned in the guise of the owner, preaching salvation to us that owned the house. They say it came from the west, where the storms at sea had felled the gulls, and the fishers dried their nets by lantern light. Its sermon is the divination of ourselves and our new horizons limit at its nest. But we cannot join the prayers and answers of the communicants. We look for new homes every day, for new altars. We strive to rebuild the old shrines defiled from the weaver's excrement. If we tell gently, all that we shall one day have to tell, who then will hear our voices without laughter? Sad, complaining voices of beggars. Who indeed will hear them without laughter? If we cry roughly of our torments, ever increasing from the start of things, what eyes will watch our large mouths shaped by the laughter of big children? What eyes will watch our large mouths? What heart would listen to our clamoring? What ear to our pitiful anger which grows in us like a tumor in the black depth of our plaintive throats? When our dead come with their dead, when they have spoken to us with their clumsy voices, just as our ears were deaf to their cries, to their wild appeals, just as our ears were deaf. They have left on the earth their cries, in the air, on the water, where they have traced their signs. For us, blind, deaf, and unworthy sons, who see nothing of what they have made, in the air, on the water, where they have traced their signs. And since we did not understand our dead, since we have never listened to their cries, if we weep gently, if we cry roughly of our torments, what heart would listen to our clamoring? What ear to our sobbing hearts? My brother, you flash your teeth in response to every hypocrisy. My brother with gold-rimmed glasses, you gave your master a blue-eyed, faithful look. My poor brother in immaculate evening dress, screaming and whispering and pleading in the parlors of condescension. We pity you. Your country's burning sun is nothing but a shadow on your serene civilized brow, And the thought of your grandmother's hut brings blushes to your face that is bleached by years of humiliation and bad conscience. And while you trample on the bitter red soil of Africa, let these words of anguish keep time with your restless step. Oh, I am lonely. So lonely here. In those days, when civilization kicked us in the face, when holy water slapped our cringing brows, the vultures built in the shadow of their talons the blood-stained monument of tutelage. In those days, there was painful laughter on the metallic hell of the roads, and the monotonous rhythm of the paternoster drowned the howling on the plantations. Oh, the bitter memories of extorted kisses, of promises broken at the point of a gun, of foreigners who did not seem human, who knew all the books but did not know love. But we, whose hands fertilized the womb of the earth, in spite of your songs of pride, in spite of the desolate villages of torn Africa, hope was preserved in us as in a fortress. And from the mines of Swaziland to the factories of Europe, spring will be reborn under our bright steps.